knows this story, as he knows many of the backstories. But I was elected, served in the 2013 session. It was the first majority Republican legislature since Reconstruction. We had 51 Republicans to 49 Democrats. And I can't remember what the numbers were in the Senate, but it also was a slim majority. We passed that year a bill on photo voter ID. Then Governor Beebe vetoed that bill, arguing, and actually, you know, in retrospect, his argument was correct, that it takes a 2/3 vote because we were amending Amendment 51, and we only had 51. But the day that we went to override the veto, I came down sick during a committee meeting that morning. And I left early. I thought, well, I'm just going to drive home. I live in Maumelle. I'm going to drive home, and I'm just going to rest for a little bit, and then I'll make it back for the afternoon session. Nobody had told me that that was going to be the day that they were going to take up the veto override. And my phone started ringing off the hook. Mark, where are you? We have to have you, because we had to have the 51 votes. Where are you? Well, I'm homesick. Well, you need to get here. Okay, so I'm driving. The phone is blowing up. Texts are coming in. Finally, someone says, I answer the phone, and they say, listen, we're stalling on a bill so that you can get here. When you pull up behind the Capitol, don't even turn your car off. Someone will park the car for you, and we will get you up to the chamber. And sure enough, when I got there, 2 legislators were on either side of me, and I don't know that my feet ever touched the ground. As they were carrying me to the elevator, they were keeping me up there, and we voted. We did override the veto. Of course, the Arkansas Supreme Court did throw out that voter ID bill. But we were able to come back 2 terms later, 2 sessions later, and I sponsored the legislation. By this time, we had supermajorities in both chambers. And we sponsored the photo voter ID law, which I think is critical to something that many of us were involved in this time, and that is improving election integrity within the state of Arkansas. When I ran the bill in 2017, and it was subsequently supported even more in 2018 by the voters, in a referendum, they voted by 80% that they wanted photo voter ID. And that tracked with all of the national polling. The Gallup poll had said that Americans support by 80% you showing your ID. I mean, you have to show your ID for so many other things, to pick up your prescriptions, to be able to get on to an airplane, to used to when you rented videos, you know, at Blockbuster, you had to show an ID. I mean, just the list goes on and on. So why not something as important as the election process? Well, one of the things that I knew that the opponents were going to hit me on was, well, we don't have a lot of incidences of fraud. Certainly not in Arkansas. And they would say, and Mark, don't bring up Hudson Hallam. That's old news. That happened over in East Arkansas. Well, I never did, because I never mentioned fraud. Never mentioned it once. And in all the legislation that I have run, even since then and this year, I have focused on talking about the integrity of the ballot and how the confidence that voters have, Americans have, in the ballot has been decreasing year by year. And that affects voter turnout. Both sides, Democrat, Republican, conservative, liberal, should agree that what we need in a republic democracy is more people voting, not less. And they want to accuse us, Republicans, of suppressing the vote, of disenfranchising. Not at all. We want to make sure that the integrity and the faith in the electoral process is heightened. And so that's why we sponsored, a number of us sponsored, I think 18 different bills this session. We passed 16 of them. We strengthened photo voter ID. And so as I look back on all of the different pieces of legislation that I passed, I would honestly say, and I think by your response, that the one that I should be most proud of in terms of a legacy would be voter ID. And it's because of that that I've decided, and this is where the announcement comes in,
Come on, man. Come on.
that I am going to take my love for making sure that the electoral process is kept legitimate, it's kept fair, it's kept guarded, and protected. I'm going to